Well, hello there, and welcome to Atrocities Build Something. Yeah, I'm working on this big Typhoon class hull that I got from SpearmintMagpie quite a while back. It's been a lot of fun. It's a lot bigger than I thought it was, but not as huge as, say, the Luminosity B. Now, there's not a lot of information about this particular hull, so what I've discovered is I can do pretty much anything I want to do with it. Yeah, yeah, I am following some of the images that I got from Star Trek Online, where this ship was or is a reward vessel for an event. You can probably pick it up from Mud's bundle, one of the Mud's bundles by now, I believe. But yeah, I have an image of it, and I've been working from that. It is unique because it is a quad nacelle, but it only has two nacelles, but they are attached right here. And as you can see, the noisy design of the noisy implementation of the 3D model from the source to Minecraft is, yeah, it can be a bit. I mean, you can see the definite, lines of everything, but when you get up close to it, it gets really noisy. That's just, that's what you get when you deal with a Minecraft model. And I can be honest with you, I do them the best I can with what I have available, which ain't a lot. So try my best. So don't laugh at me too hard. This is my first major build since the D7, and I'm just taking my time with it, just trying to make it work. But yeah, I've done a lot of the whole outside basic hull detailing. Nothing, over the top like you would see like with a Luminosity B or something that or not Blue Foes, but Creeperbot would do, or even something like what Martini would do with one of his builds, or even uh, some of the other builders and stuff. So yeah. Anywho, yeah, we plugged up this hole up here. I asked for some help from a couple of people, and they recommended that just go ahead. There's a big hole right here in the hull. It serves no purpose. It literally is there just because they kit bashed the ship and they decided to leave it the way it was. So yeah, we went ahead and filled it, and I believe this was Martin's idea right here to do this. So it's still a work in progress. I now have an image for what he wants to do with this right here, so I have a better clue what needs to be done. But gone through here, added in all the escape pods and their locations. I've tried to get as much of the hull detail on as I can. Now, in the images I have, this is one deck, but it actually this span goes over two decks, so it's going to be a lounge area, so it's gonna be a big open room. I got the phaser in here. I've got the stuff down here. Now the funny thing about this build is it has a couple of really quirky things, like these things right here. Now, since this is a temporal vessel, I'm gonna call these something to do with temporal stability drives or temporal stability cores. There's two here, and there are two up on the top up by the main bridge. Another quirky thing about this design is it has this big door right here. And right in front of it, you obviously can't make much out of this. There's the forward heavy cannons. So my theory is this room, when the ship is in combat, is automated. And these things generate a lot of heat. So they just open this bay door here for cooling. In other words, the heat is dissipated right out into space. That's going to be my logic because there's no other reason to have doors here, especially when you literally have like 20 blocks between the door and here. Not even enough room to put a shuttle. And then you got your torpedo launcher or your cannon right here. And yeah, I guess you could build a cannon that goes up. Yeah, we're not doing that. So worked on the deflector a little bit. We're just getting a basic flesh out. It is accurate enough to the image I have, but everybody agrees that it's just too much with the purple and the pink. So we're gonna flesh that out later on. That's the idea of the people I've shown this to. It's really hard to emulate some of the shapes that we see in an image, even if we translate it accurately from the image to, you know, Minecraft here, it still looks janky up close. But when you get back, it starts to look less janky and looks more like a deflector dish, as you can see. Anyways, yeah, all the escape pod spots are in. As I go through, I kind of work a little bit on the hull here and there, trying to get rid of some of the noisy bits that things like this that drive me nuts. Like you got this one, and this one over here. You can't do anything really. I mean, aesthetically, it is what it is. I just have to live with it, unless I want to move that over a little bit and then deal with all this different sizing and stuff. It's just the way that the hull translates over. And if we bounce up here on the upper part, another really quirky thing about this is it has this duck bill right here. It's not a door. It's an armor sheet, a reinforced armor sheet for the front of the ship. The working theory is this is for, ramming other vessels. I don't necessarily subscribe to that myself after thinking about it for a bit, but this is a feature of this class of ship. Not really sure why it's in here, other than I think they just, like I say, they kit bashed it together and decided, yeah, this looks cool. Star Trek Online. Anyways, here's the phaser strip, basic phaser strips in, and then we have this crew section up here. Then again, we have escape pods. And I have added in some extra escape pods here and there because it just seemed, like the smart thing to do. This was the original Sovereign class escape shuttle or escape pod design. And then I borrowed one from Martin. It looks like this, and because he has a lot of detail down in here underneath of it to make it look more like an escape pod. Well, yeah, I can do it on this vessel if I really just want to get into the details, but doing that would require me to modify the deck plan for how these things fit in. I still might do it. I can do it. I would just have to raise a lot of these up from the deck that they're on to the next deck above them. No big deal, unless it's underneath the hangar, which is where some of these are. So we come down here. This is the escape pod. It has, I believe, 12 seats in it total. So plus, space bathroom and space kitchen, just, so they can lock it out. Anyways, I figured the bridge modules right here, and here two more of those temporal generator things. The shapes and stuff are all funky, so I'm trying to keep everything as uniform as possible as I do the work around the vessel. But here's a basic layout for the bridge module. It's nothing major, it's just 101 Starfleet, big bridge area, sunken down, raised dais for the captain, turbo lift, access stairs, the captain's ready room with personal bedroom or day rest room, office, nap room, bathroom. There's the conference lounge, the bridge conference lounge, and then there's that, and then the escape or the Jeffries tube entrance will be right here, and it'll drop down. Now I'm going with a really large computer core for this section here, and this will allow me to have corridors and or turbo lifts through the center. So the basic part of the computer core will be separated. So it'll interlink down here with its own like little bridge area and stuff like that. It'll look kind of cool, but this whole area will be open for the most part, and these will be suspended, floating in within the room itself. And as you walk through, you can see the computer cores and whatnot. That's the idea. It'll have four large shield generators in the primary hall, and then four, maybe four in the aft section down here in the drive hall. It will have a runabout bay with two runabouts. Thank you, Martin, for this idea. And this is a cargo lift that goes all the way down to the lower bays, which are a dual purpose bay, a shuttlecraft bay and a fighter bay. I believe I snagged these off of Maggie when Maggie had the Luminosity, was working on the Luminosity B. So these are a Maggie, SpearmintMagpie design right here, just FYI. Most of the shuttlecraft that I borrowed off of the Luminosity B, because this ship is scaled in that by SpearmintMagpie they sell. So yeah, figure why not stick with the shuttles and stuff that SpearmintMagpie designs. Anyways, it'll have a large fighter bay back here. I think we're going to have a total of 10 fighters, maybe 12. I might add some more room back here, but I think overall it'll have 12 fighters, 10 to 12 fighters. And then we have a standard shuttle bay right here, and I'm designing it kind of the way that Calvin was doing the Enterprise D's lower bay initially. So I'm kind of basing it a lot off of that because that was kind of a neat design, and the way that it angled into the center, and then you had the little parking repair area here. You had a lift for a standard shuttlecraft that brings it down into this area down here. So if you have to, you can have shuttle parking down here, or bring a fighter up and launch a fighter out that, or recover a fighter if you're launching a fighter. So this will probably work as fighter recovery as well. You know, just saying. This is all me spitballing and whatnot. Anyways, this cargo comes all the way down here to these two areas here, and right about here, it it comes back and goes all the way back to the back cargo bay and hangar bay. Now, I'm stealing an idea that Blue Phobes came up with when he decided to go and rework the Enterprise D version 3, I believe it was. He wanted to transition the crossover between the two impulse engines differently than the way that I had laid it out in the design. I had it all on one, I think, two decks. Well, he wanted it to transverse down a couple of decks and then cross over it and then angle back up, which was a brilliant idea. He started working on it. I went over and checked it out. I really liked it. I implemented it with the Enterprise version 3 design, no version 2 design that's over on the side here. I can show you that in a second what we're doing and what I was doing with that. And that was initially started, I think, by think- I don't remember who initially started that. It'll come to me when we'll go over there. Anyway, so what I did here is I just kind of angled it up and ran it right along this path here up into the nacelles. The back end of these nacelles, mainly cooling. This is just whole purpose of, heat venting. So all these are just heat vents and whatnot. A lot of this will have structure, and then most of it will just be for heat venting because, these things generate a lot of heat. Got to get rid of it. Anyways, each level has a corridor that can bisect it. So as you can see, even this up here, I'll have this one right there. So this is easily transversable, and the turbo lifts and stuff will also be able to go around it as well. And I was thinking about extending this cargo to this side. I don't know yet. I still have to hook up these RCS thrusters, port or forward and aft RCS thrusters, and then route them over to the impulse engines here. Now, the nice thing about this design, if you come out here and you look out here, you can see that the design actually has a lot of greebling, and it comes up through here automatically. So I'm using this as a crossover point for the two impulse engines. Why not? That's my plan anyways, because it goes right down into the impulse bay. If you come up here, you can see it just goes straight across. Here's the impulse bay basic sketch. Now, this whole area will probably all be impulse bay, but I do believe the images I have do have windows over in this area. I might forgo that. Just saying, I might forgo all that. There is still a lot of cleanup work I have to do on this hull, just little teeny things here and there that drive me nuts, but alignment issues with some of the coloring that I'm using and whatnot. We have a lot of greebling that goes up through here, and I kind of tried to flesh it out as much as possible, and I will probably go underneath and, complete the greebling parts underneath and make it all part of the ship's rugged engineering thing. This is like a Star Destroyer trench. That's kind of what I'm thinking they're doing here. So each one of these things probably serves a purpose. Like this thing right here, I really don't know what it does, but it comes over into here. It's got this little tube thing here, so I'll probably mount that in there somehow. And I really don't know. Really don't know. Maybe these things lift up and become, I don't know, part of the temporal process of the ship to allow it to, phase itself in and out of reality. And here we go. Here's some more escape pods. If we drop down here, you can see what I mean about the escape pods. I can do the bottom design, so I can really make the escape pods as detailed as I want for some of these areas. But for example, if it was like right here, the entrance would probably be right here, and the escape pod would come down one more deck. Then for here, the entrance would be right here, which it can work, but it doesn't really work. So these two would have to be on the same deck, and these two would have to be on the same deck, and then these two would have to be on the same deck. So they would all technically, you know, it would just be one big area that I would block off for escape pods. And I can do that. I can do that with most of them. And I could probably even pull it off down here. Now, down here is kind of a trick because these escape pods are on the side of the hull and they are pretty much straight up and down. Now I have two choices. I can turn the escape pod sideways, which you can't really do in Minecraft, and you would board them from the top and climb down into them. Or I can set them sideways and you could go into them from this side like I do up there. It doesn't work. So what it is they are up here and they drop down and fall out of the hull that way. That's so basically they're going to go straight down and out. You know, you got to work with what you got, and that's the logic here. I can't angle these anymore, and I can't angle them up like at a diagonal. I could do it. Don't get me wrong. I could probably do that, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to leave it the way it is, and it's just Minecraft limitations. We'll call it that. And back here, this big thing right here, it'll be something to do with temporal. Uh, I don't know, probably a compensator of some kind that centers the ship and keeps the ship, centered in temporal space so it doesn't drift. I don't know, I'll call it a temporal anchor. Then come up through here, kind of did some of the greebling work, added some details down here for greebling. I'm not really sure what any of this is. I assume it's just exposed compressor material for decompressing the shuttle base here. But if you come up into here, I kind of built it out up here in the process of building it out up here. So this will all be part of the engineering sections or ship environmental systems and whatnot down through here. Not really sure what I'll do with this. It could be a cargo door. I'll have to research it a little bit more. I might do what Aquino has done with the Enterprise B. Aquino's done really good stuff. I mean, the Enterprise B is amazing. Just the stuff Martin and him have pulled off on that is pretty cool. It's been a while since I've seen any of the other builders work and stuff, so my interaction with them is kind of limited. I do my own thing, and sometimes I'll bounce on the Trekcraft Discord and chat with them and share some of the images and ask for advice and stuff like that. So that's how I've been doing it. So it's a slow process, but we're getting there. Back here, this will be flight operations or fighter operations for these two hangar bays right here. Why not? Um, Now, I do note that on the Enterprise B, Martin and Aquino have two shuttles hooked up right here. I thought that was really cool. They could just fly in and just hook up. I thought about that for this. I might include that like right here for one big shuttle to come in and hook up right here. This will probably be a door. I don't know, or part of the cooling system. I don't know. Like I say, it's all up in the air until I figure out what it is and get some ideas and whatnot. Most of this is just, Aztec rebling and whatnot. Then we have a couple more big areas back here. Now these look like doors, but in the images I have, these are just panels. They're not really doors. So if I have to make them doors, there's not a lot I can do with it other than making this whole area here a big cargo bay. Now I can do that, except that this section here is above the floor. So to do that, I would have to make one of these, make this whole section back here up one deck, and then if you access it, you actually have to go down, which isn't a problem. I understand that there are blocks that can be used to create a gentle sloping and whatnot. And I can do that instead of having like a stairs going down. I can do a gentle slope. Now we've used multi-levels. I've used multi-levels before on my previous builds. I believe even the Exodus and the Fearless 2 have, areas of the ship where you have to step down into. Now I know with the Enterprise D, there's a lot of lower deck areas where the actual deck comes in contact with, a flat piece of hull, and the working theory there was just turned it into aquatic, you know, refugees. I don't remember how I worked with it, overcame it with version 3, but with version 4, we were just going to make it all aquatic stuff like they did with the original Enterprise, the original Halcoon Enterprise. So yeah, that was a concept. That was a concept. More escape pods. Now this is where I run into a problem with adding those extra bottom features because this escape pod right here, maybe it might work. I don't know. There's room underneath of it, so I guess I could kind of make it work a little bit. But again, we have this area up here. Now Again, I can lift these up to this deck right here, no issues. And then I can put those modifications. Probably that's what I'm going to do, because I really like how Martin has that escape pod designed, where it is, when it launches, it does look like a tooth, like we see in First Contact when they have to jettison escape pods from the Enterprise E. You'd have a very distinctive tooth look. I like that. I really want to do that. So let's go back here real quick, and you can see some more of SpearmintMagpie's shuttles and whatnot. I really wanted to make this design more of a hardened battle cruiser or battleship. It can't be a battleship, it's not big enough, but it can be a battle cruiser. That's the logic. Figure what the hey, stick with it. So to that end, I have a couple of these larger shuttles, and they needed a home because if the smaller shuttles are going to be handled down there along with the fighters, and then this back section here can be the larger shuttles with a surplus of smaller ones further back. Now, it is going to have a dedicated assault force, a Starfleet Marine detachment, so they need their own Starfleet shuttle. And this is what I'm going to use for that. This is again a Spearmint Maggie design, and this actually lowers down, which is kind of cool. I think that's probably borrowed that from another game that does that stuff. And you come through here, and you have this bridge. Star Citizen-esque, very Star Citizen-esque, Maggie, very Star Citizen-esque. Love it. Anyways, this one doesn't lower because I really don't have any room for it, so it has its own parking garage right in the middle of the hangar. And then the smaller shuttles can come through these on either the port and starboard side. These little, areas here. They can just come through, and then they can go out. Now this one here uses this lift, and this back here will be the lift systems. Right here, this area here will lift up and lift down, and it'll have two of those as well. So one there on the one side and one on the port. So we'll have two of these. And then back here, we'll have a whole bunch of different types of shuttles. These kind of shuttles will be back in here. And again, they just fly through here. Now, I am extending, most likely will extend. We have this parking bay down here for 4 more shuttles. And I would like to push them back this way, but we have this thing, whatever the hell this thing is, and I'll figure it out. Temporal wake alignment doohickey, space weather detachment, shuttle, recovery, clamp. I have no idea. But we'll figure it out. That's why not? I'm sure somebody's already figured out what these things are. I mean, they're on the Enterprise, the refit, and on the Enterprise A at the back of the nacelles. That's probably why they're stuck here. So whatever they do on the back of those nacelles is probably what they do here. It's probably just a system for keeping the ship, for managing the maneuverability of the ship, and it's not like a thruster, it's something else. I don't know, maybe a gravity condenser, a mass mass driver of some kind, who knows. Anyways, so yeah, I have this little hangar here, then I'll have this one up here. I doubt I have the room down here for it, so I'm not even going to worry about it down here. But yeah, so they can come down through here, park here. So it'll have between 8 of these, each of these. So 16 different types of shuttles all total, plus the big one here, then 2 of these, 2 runabouts, and 12 fighters. So, or 10 to 12 fighters. But anyways, this is an extension area through here for cargo, long-term or short-term cargo. And these will be able to be put in here for beaming, so they can actually, whatever this is in this can be pulled in here and beamed off ship or beamed onto ship. But if they have to manually load it, they can manually load it using a lift here that goes up to this part of the hangar. And then it transitions into a cargo complex. Behind here will be more cargo complexes. And then we'll have mostly engineering stuff down through here. There will be, if I turn this into a cargo complex, it'll be part of the cargo complex. If not, it'll just be crew quarters, machinery, additional whatnots, and so forth. But yeah, that's pretty much where I've gotten with this so far. I don't know how much of it I'll complete or if I'll keep working on it. I'll do it when I have time and I'm bored and just want to hang out and, you know, reminisce about the good old days. But yeah, overall, it's a big ship, has a lot of decks. I think overall, real quick here, just to finish the video off, we can jump down here and see actually how many decks it actually has. The deflector dish is massive, very big. That is very big. I guess I don't have them marked anymore. I thought I had them all marked. I do, right here. It has officially 47 decks. That's a big ship. Anyways, thanks for watching, and have a great one. Bye-bye.